I bet. So, you did it. You got your opponent to sit in your facing guard. You won neutral, the first phase neutral, and your second phase neutral. What now? Right? So, obviously, the blatant answer is run your mix-up game. You can instant full crouch 3K. You can 6A plus B if they're gonna duck. You can 1K. You can 6 speed, which is all good stuff, right? But one of the important things when it comes to opening somebody up is figuring out their timing, right? Now, everybody has a certain timing of when they like to do something, right? When they like to press a button, when they like to backdash, when they like to GI, stuff like that. There's a certain rhythm to an opponent and what they like to do. And believe it or not, there's a certain rhythm to what you like to do as well, right? And so there are certain things that you can do to figure out an opponent's rhythm, right? So for me, I like to use a move that I can spam over and over again to figure out when they like to do something, what they like to do, just pretty much figure out their tendencies, right? And for me, that move is 3A, right? So think about 3A, horizontal mid, on counter hit, it's hit confirmable to something else, every single time. If I don't want to take my counter hit extra damage, what I can do is I can just do it, and if it counter hits, I'm plus 2. Or plus 6, somewhere in the plus 2, plus 6 range. Either way, it's plus, still a turn, right? And I can get them to sit still again, because while the goal is in this phase is to get them to block in front of your face, when you're up close, the goal is to get them to sit still so you can run your mix-up, right? Because if they're moving and running around, you can't really mix them up, right? So for me, 3 is a good move to keep them in check. You can also 3K to keep them in check, right? That's a good way to kind of get them to not move so that you can run your mix-up game. And you can get these counter hits by figuring out when they want to press something. So I like 3A because people know it has a follow-up, right? So if they're hesitant, if you 3A and they're hesitant, then you can go for a throw. If you 3A and they're hesitant, you can go for a mix-up. If you 3A and they're hesitant, you can pretty much do whatever you want, right? You can reposition. But you can't 3A all the time, right? You can't just 3A, 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 right? Because sometimes some people will just block, right? Just block and backdash, right? So another thing that you need to understand is how to get the opponent to do something, right? And one of the easiest ways to get the opponent to do something is to run up and 1K them, right? If you 1K somebody, I guarantee you most of the time they will try to do something. The standard response is to 1K and then 2A, or 1KA, and the opponent will usually 2A after they get 1K'd, or they'll usually A after they get 1K'd, and their answers, right? So if you 1K and you see that they like the 2A, you can flee B and launch your 2A. I'll show you just in case you don't believe me. Every time, right? And if they A, you can do something extreme like that. You can duck and wait and get the Reaper hit. While rising B. Stuff like that, If they like to do a BB, you can step and launch them. Stuff like that, right? Pretty much what you want them to do is you want to create a situation to where the opponent will respond. You want to create a response from your opponent, right? So we created a response from our opponent by running up and guarding, and now when we're here, we do moves to create another response from our opponent, right? We can 1K is very good. We can 6's B on block to kind of create a response as neutral. We can even 6's K. We can 3A. Pretty much all we're doing is doing things to create a response from our opponent, so that way we can capitalize off the responses, right? And it really helps when you understand the opponent's timing. So doing 3A to understand the opponent's timing, or 1K to understand what the opponent's doing, which is, it's easier to create a response than to understand somebody's timing, but they're both important, right? Because if you can create a response, you can automate your answers, right? But the issue is when the response that you create isn't something you can capitalize off of, or they're responding different each time, right? And that's when you have to either do it again. So let's say that they do 1K and then you 2A and they block, you do it again. Or what you can do is you can mix up your own timing, right? So one of the scariest things to do in Caliber is to, or one of the scariest places to be in Caliber is grow in this situation, right? Like, if I'm running in and I'm moving, like, and he's just guarding, you have like so much mental frame advantage. It's not even funny, right? And not only do you, so let's say you run up in 3A, right? And next time you run up in sidestep, right? Not only did you mix up your timing, the opponent now has to guess on what you're doing and what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, right? So it's like, you know, when we're out here and we got to guess when the opponent's going to AGA or 3A4, you do the exact same thing to them when we're in their face, right? And the thing about this is, you know, we can get a side throw. If I can actually do a side throw, we can get a side throw. We can get a push plus 3K. We can just run up and do this again. You know, we can run up, you know, backdash, create a response. So you can run up duck if you think they're going to do something. And yeah, you can create responses just by changing up your timing and just by doing that too. One thing that I want to point out, usually if you do something and wait a long time, people like to duck. And it's an easy way to kind of create a response, an easy way to kind of open somebody up. One thing that I will discourage is 3B. Now 3B is good. 3B is fine as a punish. It's fine as a whip punish, as a block punish. But running up and 3Bing somebody, the risk is not ever in your favor, right? We get the same, you know, risk reward. We get a better risk reward from 6A plus B, right? Because even if we look at it this way, right? You get the combo, it's 53 damage, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of okay. This is minus 16, by the way. You know, if you do 3B raw, you know. If you do 3BB, you can OS it. But if you 6A plus B into 3B, you get more damage, right? You can even create a protectable situation by waiting. And you get one less damage, but the Oki situation is just as good. Or you have the opportunity to spend meter, right? You can take 70 damage, which is pretty much a mini CE, right? And if they deblock it, all of it, 17% guard damage. Well, you know, I have to have them block the second part, but 17% guard damage, right? It's super, super good. It's only minus 10, so only certain characters can punish. But the risk is, it's better this way than having a guaranteed punish every single time, right? But yeah, that's pretty much the basic concept of what to do when you're in. Once again, please be creative. You know, sometimes rainbow drop, sometimes run in, sidestep, you know, 9K, run in, flee, and then hope that your flee K doesn't whiff. Run up, flee B, you know, run up, med stance, med K, stuff like that. Be creative with your responses. But pretty much when you're in, it's all about mixing up your timing, figuring out your opponent's timing, and then adjusting to keep your opponent guessing. Because once again, guessing, making your opponent guess is very cheap. So that's pretty much it on what to do when you're in. That's kind of a blueprint. And yeah, I hope it helps.